Hello, you two vintage stereo collectors. Lately, it's been the tuners coming here for work. This is kind of a cool. I've always liked this look on these 70s Sonys. You know, just the hint of wood grain. Nice aluminum faceplate. These were actually really good. The 1010 that goes with this, the amp, it's a low-powered sleeper. I did some videos on it a while ago, and I've always liked the sound of them. There's a few mods you had to do. It's in my last video on those, the TA1010. This is Sony at its best. It's not a high-level tuner, but it's an ST-5600. This is made in Japan Sony at their best when they were still innovating. When they came out with products and people were like, I like that. Never seen anything like that before. Here's what's kind of interesting about it. A couple things. It has a regulated power supply in a low line to mid line series. It's actually very similar to the tuners and the receivers of the time, the early 70s. It actually has a separate right there. That's the output board. That's stereo separation, and it has on the back adjustable levels or a fixed level for stereo out. Kind of neat. You don't see that much anymore. This is a discrete tuner. So unlike the Dynacos I was just working on, there aren't any ICs in it, and it seems to have less parts. But that's Sony for you. It's a lot less board, a lot less components than the series that came before it. And it has this very cool adjustable ferrite bar. So you don't have to have it hanging out on your stereo cabinet, you know. And it was at a time when people were still listening to some AM radio. Actually, last time I had one of these, I think I had the one that replaced this. It was a little bit newer, but I liked it because it had this. I was still listening to some oldies radio shows on AM. Not so much anymore. With all the high-powered Wi-Fi routers and 5G, there seems to be so much interference. Anyway, getting back to the tuner. So this one, I don't see any replacement parts in it. Nothing. I'm just going to flip it over. Yeah, see, that's not... Everything's accessible. Steel chassis, good grounding points. What I like to say about this is I fired it up and I can't play any music anymore, even off the radio. I did one a little while ago where I had a bleep, I think 1 or 2 songs, and then I got a notice from YouTube that I was in violation of policy and that 1 or more strikes may result in the suspension of your account. So I'm not playing anything that wasn't played by my high school choir anymore. I don't know how people get away with it. I know there's ways of getting past the copyrights. One thing I noticed on this, it's a bit distorted sounding. The FM stereo is not that great. This discriminator coil right here, I've run into this before. In fact, the AF6 that I was working on a little while ago, the Dynaco AF6, I got it working. I put in a new multiplexer chip just a few videos ago, and it didn't quite sound right. So I went to set up the discriminator with my little mini scope, and the little slug, ferrite slug in it, was cracked and broken, seized. So I did a couple afternoons ago, I found another one. I went through a bunch of stuff, some boards, and it was actually a tuner board out of a Kenwood, out of a, I don't even remember what it was, KT-3500, I think, actually had the same value. And which I actually kept. I did not desolder it and change it, but I got the core out of it. I had it very carefully. Okay, here's a trick. I didn't do a video on it because I had a number of other things going, but I put crazy glue on the end of my screwdriver, stuck it in there until it bonded to the slug, and then turned it out in pieces, and then cleaned it out with a little wood dowel, and then took the slug out of the other one, wound it in, and I was able to set it. These were really fragile. I've always had some issues with these. I don't turn them unless it doesn't sound right. These kind of mid-sized aluminum IF cans, in this case in the discriminator circuit. But you know what? It sounds like the discriminator is misaligned. And here's my theory. This one. Here's where I'm going with it. The regulator transistor is getting very hot, yet everything powers up. My guess, this cap. It'll probably eventually fail. This thing's probably been sitting for ages. So I'm going to replace the caps on this board. Replace the output caps. See what it sounds like. There's not many electrolytics, but they're all the gray Elnas. And lately, if you were to look in a garbage pail from my shop, you'd see that most of the caps replaced are that era of Elna. And they've lasted a heck of a long time, but their time is over. My guess is that cap back there. Well, yeah, this is one of these. This is actually, if you look, there's not a lot of tuning cores on this chassis. A lot of the IF is direct coupled using diodes and polyester caps. It was a really good design, but an electrolytic cap will really throw the sound off. Anyway, let's go there. I'll see if I can find a schematic for it and replace a few caps. Thanks for watching and listening.